There we go. We're doing heavy cream, as we talked about last week.
Those, I can't find them.
We sell them here.
I know, but I haven't seen it.
They are a hot commodity.
They are. I
If
couldn't
you-
even find them at Sprouts.
If you want to make sure that you get one of these every week, you can sign up for our recurring program, and we'll put your name on a bottle or however many bottles you want, and we'll give you 10% off. So let me know if you need help signing up for that. Highly recommend. We're gonna do, these are kind of hard to see, but I made some I'm gonna call them reduced onions. They're not crispy anymore, but they're very rich. They have this nice, similar oniony flavor to the French's onions. And because they're not crunchy, we're gonna top with crunched cheese wisps to get the crispiness. All right, so this recipe, we're gonna start with butter in the pan. I also have a dairy-free option that I made at home, so if anyone's dairy-free, you can try that one at the end. This is very dairy heavy, this recipe. So we're gonna do about a tablespoon of butter. I use a Kerrygold for this. Sometimes I'll use like the pasture cultured butter. It just depends what I can find and reasonably buy. It can be expensive.
When I see them.
Yeah, Costco also sells a grass-fed butter. I've tried it, they have it on sample, and it tastes good, but I haven't compared the ingredients, we just like Kerrygold.
Yeah.
I like it too.
Slightly less than a tablespoon. It's pretty. So we're going to start by browning our mushrooms. Luckily, we don't need a cooking utensil for a little while. And
The important thing is you have all the food.
we have all the food. We're going to make it work. I'm going to do about 1.5 cups of my pre-chopped mushrooms. Basically, I just don't want to put so many in the pan that it starts to steam them.
Yeah.
I want them to get a little brown. So that, depending on your pan and how big the chop is, it might be more or less. That's about right. And we're gonna let that go for a little bit. And it's gonna start to smell good soon. All right, so for this, let's reflect first. What went well last week?
Doing better on my veggies.
Good. Better on veggies.
Carbs were easier.
Great.
Sort of got out of the carb habit.
Nice.
Getting all the water in.
Water drinking. Fantastic. How about any new habits after we talked about fats or sugar intake? Just reminders, maybe. Nothing new. Did anyone go home and look at their recent blood work and do some of those calculations?
Yeah, I found it where in my medical thing. And so it's high, but it's not like, one was within the high range, but acceptable range. One, I get my calculator out and shut it off.
Yeah, calculator.
So
for
I'm
sure.
anxious to see when I go again what my new results will be since I
Yeah.
started eating better.
Great. Cool. Who lost weight last week? Nice work. Who lost waist size? Good job. You guys are doing great.
My clothes tell me that information.
Your clothes tell you.
Yeah.
My
My toes. my toes look up and go.
It's so much better. That's what's 10 minutes.
Yeah. I must have all my clothes.
All right. So this recipe, our green bean casserole, for one side serving. The recipe we're making today is going to make about 8 side servings. One serving is about 270 calories, 13 grams of carbs, 23 grams of fat, a little bit of protein, not that much, and some fiber. We're getting vitamin A. Does anyone know where that's coming from?
Green.
Heavy cream. Tons of vitamin A and heavy cream. Vitamin C, where's that coming from?
Green beans.
Green beans. As well as vitamin K from the green beans and the mushrooms. And then just a little bit of different B vitamins in there. On Chronometer, I added this recipe and I shared it with all of you. So if you want to log it, it's called Village's Thanksgiving Green Bean Casserole.
And how much does a serving have?
It will depend probably like 3/4 of a cup. I think it's counterintuitive that most people who are overweight or holding on to excess body fat or having metabolic type issues are undernourished. Seems kind of counterintuitive, right? If you're holding on to excess weight, shouldn't you be super nourished?
Yeah, not the right.
Actually, no, yeah. So it's important to think about getting as much good stuff in with every bite as you can and treating yourself a little bit like you're undernourished. And so the mindset for that is crowd out, don't cut out. We want to add good stuff in instead of taking bad stuff out. Because really no food is bad food. Unless it's like Tide Pods or like couch stuffing or, that's not good food. But if it's food that you love to eat, it's good food. Maybe it doesn't fit in your goals right now, but that doesn't mean it's bad food. So crowd out, don't cut out. So this mentality, eventually, if you're getting more and more good stuff in, your tastes are going to change. Your perception will change on what you're considering to be bad food, if you're still labeling it. And you're going to look back and be like, oh, wow. If I had considered a bad day 6 months ago, it looks nothing like a bad day of eating now. And so that set point starts to change and move forward. Another mindset tip that can be helpful is to start to think of yourself as someone else. In regard to your health choices, your fitness choices, your food and eating choices, reflecting back on a day where maybe you indulged too much, or you didn't get all your veggies in, or you went over in carbs, instead of having that negative internal monologue that's like, crap, I didn't do it again. Ah, gosh, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? And I think a lot of us struggle with that negative self-talk. Instead of that, if you can perceive yourself as your best friend or your child or someone that you're invested in helping, it's a much more positive way to look at things. So, okay, we made a mistake. Why? How can I improve next time? How can I anticipate that next time? And what's the lowest hanging fruit that I can pick to get myself 1% better? If your child wasn't feeling their best, and you could see a direct correlation with their food choices, how would you help support them? That's the exact same way we want to treat ourselves. So for you, for everyone in here, it's going to be different. Maybe you particularly have a peanut butter addiction that's derailing you. And so for you, it's like, okay, how can we just get 1 tablespoon less peanut butter with 1 tablespoon more of something else? Work our way towards what we want to be doing. And some other ways to get more nutrient density into your diet. These are my favorite, but there's so many. Spaghetti squash instead of pasta. Has anyone tried that?
We do it a lot.
You do it a lot?
I just don't think of it as pasta. I can't.
It's like a different, it's its own thing.
It's its own thing because there's no texture or anything for it. So instead of cauliflower, rice cauliflower, it's not rice.
Yeah.
It's cauliflower. And then I can handle it better because my mind is made up. I'm not expecting. Because food is so much about texture.
Totally. Anything else you guys like to substitute pasta for that is more nutrient dense? Zucchini. Yeah.
I just do roasted vegetables and then whatever sauce I make is usually okay. And I just put it on top with cottage cheese.
Yum.
Kind of a weird thing, but
Oh, it sounds like ricotta on top of like a
yeah.
marinara.
I grew up eating spaghetti with cottage cheese, and we also eat it with our stew, which is kind of different, but it is really good, and it gives you extra protein. So.
That sounds good.
That's a great idea.
As we're talking, I'm going to add some garlic into the pan, so you guys know what I'm doing. Almond flour and almond products, they have a lot more nutrients than like wheat flour and bleached white flour. So I like to use a lot of almond products, more fiber, more nutrients. Has anyone ever tried that before? For instance, like if you're making a crusted something, crusted fish or chicken, you can do like a almond meal or ground almonds, and it's kind of the same experience. It gets crispy and delicious, and it's just more nutritious. Lettuce and collard green wraps instead of bread, or instead of a wrap. It's a good swap. We did that like 6 weeks ago in here. Blended frozen berries instead of ice cream. Anything else? What do you guys think? What are your hacks to get more nutrients into your diet?
Well, I'll do like Greek yogurt and fresh fruit instead of ice cream. It's still that sweetness, it's still that creaminess. So I've been able to not eat ice cream because of that.
Great one.
Stir fry.
Stir fry. Yeah. Yes.
Air fryer.
Air fryer.
Yeah.
Totally. Hence the air fried onions. I like it.
I did my veggies in my breakfast, so I prep them now, I just pull it out, and I have zucchini, my tomato, and my mushrooms, so I can make it quick.
She's saying she preps a lot of vegetables now, especially for breakfast.
Yeah, that's
Zucchini
what
and
I do.
mushrooms,
Do you know what
tomatoes.
was real, I finally made that salad that you made a couple
The
weeks ago,
kale?
the kale one.
Yeah.
It's really good for breakfast the next day.
Oh,
because
really?
It has the tart cherries in it.
Yeah, a little sweetness.
Yeah, it was like, that's, strawberries aren't in season right now, and so I've kind of lost what I eat for breakfast, because I would do the yogurt with berries. And so I'm finding that I'm not setting myself up well at the beginning of the day. Lots of times if I can't think of anything to eat, then I just don't eat, and then that gets me into a bad
Cycle.
place. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
great.
I thought, maybe I'll just make the salad and eat the salad for breakfast for the next.
Yeah, who cares?
Strawberries come back again, yeah.
Anything for breakfast you
Yeah,
want.
I'm like, that gets my veggies in too.
I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of this gluten-free flour to the pan. This is like a quick and dirty roux. This is what's gonna make our creamy sauce without the canned cream of mushroom soup. So right now it's pretty chalky. I know you guys can't see the pan, but it's just coating the mushrooms in the flour so that it doesn't clump. You could also whisk the flour into a liquid, into the water, or into the heavy cream so that it's not clumpy. This is definitely not like the French way to make a roux. So don't come for me, but it works. We're gonna put about a 1/3 cup of water in here. And then when I add the water, just mixing it around, it's gonna start to kind of congeal. It gets a little bit like gloopy. It's right, so when you do this at home, it's right. It looks wrong. It's right. Great. Just making sure that all that flour is mixed in with the water. Delightful. We're gonna do our heavy cream. If you want to use less heavy cream, you can sub part of it with broth. I didn't want to put any meat products in this one particularly, but you could do that. You could do more water and less heavy cream. I'm gonna do about 1.5 cups. Really just gonna eyeball it. The more liquid you put in, the more you need to reduce it to make the sauce thicker. And since I don't have unlimited time here, I'm making the sauce just a little thinner, a little less liquid off the bat, so I don't have to cook it down quite as much. And then same thing, my green beans, I cooked them a little bit more than I might cook a green bean that was gonna bake, say for 30 minutes. So it's a little overcooked, a little less liquid, but it's gonna turn out exactly like it would if you did the full recipe. All right, so now everything is creamy, white, and we're gonna let that thicken a little bit before we add in our onions and green beans.
Put the onions in the air fryer.
The onions I put in the air fryer. I used a mandolin, which I'm terrified of, but it makes them very uniform. Just be nervous and careful every time you use a mandolin.
I saw the mandolin in the background.
Yeah, I know, I talked about the mandolin before, and it helps with the uniformity and things cook at the same speed, but it's very scary for me. And then I did a little bit of olive oil, and I have an air fryer with 2 racks, and I did it at 340 degrees for 15 minutes, and I just kind of tossed it halfway through. And that works pretty well. Salt and pepper right in there. The salt is our favorite here at Village, Celtic sea salt. We sell this one. We sell a fine and a coarse version. The coarse version needs to be in a grinder. It's very coarse. And I'm putting about a little less than a half a teaspoon of salt. I'll check it again later before we eat it. Okay, so that's gonna bubble while we keep talking. Okay, we're gonna talk about iron. Spotlight on iron. It is the #1 worldwide largest nutrient deficiency. So I think it's important to have a little bit of knowledge on that. Iron is an essential mineral. Minerals are nutrients that are not destroyed by our metabolism. Iron is critical for oxygenation. I think that's what most people think of immediately with iron. It's part of hemoglobin. It makes your blood work correctly and oxygenate your body. But it's also critical for brain development and growth in children, in producing our neurotransmitters, insulating our neurons so that they fire properly. Very important for mitochondrial function, energy production, and deficiency can be caused by many things. One might just be not eating enough iron. Our body cannot produce iron, we have to eat it. Or just not eating enough food in general. Can also be poor stomach acid production. So if you have low stomach acid, you are not properly exposing the iron so that it can be absorbed in your small intestine. And that can also be if you're using acid blockers, acid reducers, calcium-based like Tums calcium carbonate supplements.
So if we use those, that means we're not getting, I mean, I can't stop using it.
Right. So it might mean, potentially, that you could develop an iron deficiency. Maybe not. Possibly your body is getting enough iron in and absorbing enough iron without looking at those things.
I don't think test for that. Yes. My hemoglobin's good, so.
Antibiotics, NSAIDs, salicylates, that's aspirin, cholesterol-lowering medications like bile acid sequestrants and ulcer medications can also diminish iron absorption. There's this kind of strange phenomenon called hemolytic anemia. Long-distance runners can get iron deficiency because the actual pounding of their feet on the pavement breaks the red blood cells. So that would be like our crazy coaches that do their 270-mile whatever they do up there. If you are bleeding knowingly or unknowingly, or if you have a really heavy menstruation, really heavy period, that can cause iron deficiency, so blood loss. And then chronic inflammatory conditions can cause an iron deficiency. The iron can get used up in those inflammatory processes. And also parasites. So H. pylori is a really prevalent parasite worldwide, and that can cause iron deficiency because it causes low stomach acid. Consequences of iron deficiency could be anemia. There are other things that cause anemias. It's not just iron, but you could develop iron deficiency anemia. That's an issue with your red blood cells. Lightheadedness, dizziness, poor circulation. A classic symptom is when someone says, I'm always cold, or my hands and my feet are always cold. Restless leg syndrome can be caused just by iron deficiency, and it doesn't even have to be anemia. It could just be iron deficiency on its own. It can cause heart problems, pregnancy complications, and easy bruising. This is good. I think we're gonna transition back to this real quick. It's looking good. And I'm gonna turn the heat down. Ooh, splash zone.
No,
Sorry, Jenny.
no, it's there.
Okay. Yeah, heat's going down to low. We're gonna add in our green beans. Most of our onions, but not all. So I'm gonna top it with a little bit of onion. Oh, thank you, Jill. And just to give you guys an idea of like the, can you see the floppiness of my green bean? It's not good, not crisp.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go, just a good amount of us in here. It's probably like 3 cups, 2.5 cups, something like that.
Could you just microwave steam them and
Yeah.
still?
You could, yeah. And if you want to cut corners, you could also do like a frozen green bean and just steam it first. I find that frozen vegetables typically are almost identical in nutrient density as fresh vegetables. There may be differences in the bacteria, the good bacteria that you get on a fresh vegetable versus a frozen vegetable because it's been pasteurized and frozen. But usually those facilities, they pick the vegetable and then they freeze it immediately.
That's what I was told, it's better than fresh, because fresh you don't know how long it's been picked.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say it's better, but I think it's similar in nutrient density. Yeah, the best is grow it in your backyard.
Well, yeah.
We got our onions going in. I think I'll do all of them right now. Because I have some chives I can top with too. And then, because we don't have an oven, I'm just gonna put a lid on it and let it finish up. You could also just pop it in the oven. But it's kind of nice not, if you say it's Thanksgiving and you have a ton of things that need to go in the oven, it's nice that you could just finish it on the stovetop. Okay.
If you put the, in the oven, you put the air fryer onions on top of that, crisp them up as it's in the oven.
It might even broil it at the end.
At the end.
Yeah, the onions were crispy right out of the air fryer,
Uh-huh.
so I think it would work. But because they were in the fridge all day, yeah.
I was just curious.
I made them with olive oil last time. I
Ooh.
tossed them with olive oil and I put them in the air fryer.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So that was really good.
The onions?
Mm. Okay, our iron. There's 2 forms of iron. Does anyone know the 2 forms of iron?
Ferric
That was
and
years ago.
something.
Ooh.
Ferric, I can't remember.
That's
Because I
you are the
tried
iron
to remember
teacher.
something.
So for lay people, we say heme and non-heme iron, but actually what that really means is non-heme is ferric form of iron, and heme is ferrous form of iron. That was good, fellas. Heme iron comes from our animal foods, and it's more bioavailable because it's already converted into that ferrous form. Non-heme iron comes from plant foods, little less bioavailable. Recommended daily intake, if you're not menstruating anymore, men and women have the same needs. It's 8 milligrams daily from food. If you are still having a period, you need 18 milligrams a day, so a much larger requirement. And the places we get iron in our diet, heme iron, oysters, clams, lots of seafood, beef, chicken, liver, organ meats. Someone asked me if it's only canned light tuna, and I think it's all tuna. Just I copied and pasted and I didn't see canned light tuna, any tuna. Non-heme iron, we get that in beans, like green beans, dark chocolate, lentils, spinach. The skin of potato particularly, nuts and seeds, and our cast iron skillet, that's a non-heme source of iron. And if you were to kind of analyze your iron on blood work, there's a lot of things you could look for, but the most common would be iron, that's serum iron. Ferritin is a protein that helps us store iron for later use. And then transferrin is a protein that transports iron. And on your blood work, it might say TIBC, and that's the amount of transferrin that's currently bound and transporting iron. If you are deficient and your doctor says you're really low, or if you go and try and donate blood and they don't let you, you should take a supplement. It will make a huge difference in your energy levels, circulation. So, yeah.
They told me not to take it with tea though. Tea inhibits
It does, that's true, because tea has catechins, which are inhibitory compounds. Yeah, that's a good point. So ferrous gluconate is a liquid form. It's more absorbable in the liquid. It's kind of nasty, not gonna lie. Ferrous sulfate is a tablet form of iron. Most irons cause constipation and nausea in most people, but not all people. However, food also interferes with the absorption of the iron supplement. So if you're gonna take it with food, just a small meal and avoid really calcium-rich foods like dairy products. However, vitamin C helps absorption of iron. So if you pair it with a vitamin C-rich food or drink, that will help you. And not with tea.
Do you know what reactive iron is?
No, I don't.
I was taking regular iron and I'm like, oh, let me change it to reactive iron. And I was just
Well,
curious.
there's an iron supplement that you can take and that might be it, that's less irritating to the
Oh, I
stomach.
think that is, and I take it with vitamin C.
Yeah, so I know when I was in UMac, they said, don't take this iron, take this iron, because it's easier on your stomach. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, they have formulas that will say like non-constipating iron that you can look for. It should be a little gentler. If you're not iron deficient, don't supplement. Iron overload can also be a problem. We could store the iron in places where it shouldn't be stored. So make sure that you're getting blood work done. Or if you're not sure, just eat a lot of iron-rich foods. Start cooking with a cast iron skillet, get your animal products in, and you're safe. Any other questions? All right. Couple of announcements. This is week 4. Next week, you could decide from level 1 to repeat level 1 again or move on to level 2. If you've done about 80% of the days of those tasks, you might decide to go to level 2. There are task sheets on the side there. Make sure you take a task sheet with you to start on Monday. And it's a monthly task sheet. So if you're in level 2, you still need another task sheet for next month. In level 3, you need another task sheet. We're gonna be doing our 15-minute phone check-ins next week and the week after. There'll be a link in the email on Saturday for you to set that up so we can chat. All right, let's spend 5 minutes on weekly watering number 4. The monthly reflection is homework. And I'll
Like,
yes.